Hi, everyone. I'm Jacob Vanderwerf. I'm one of the admissions counselors here at Whitworth University. I work specifically with students from um, Spokane Valley, Montana, and Southwest Washington, also students from the Midwest and basically all the rest of the United States. But it's awesome to have you guys here. Super excited to talk you through some next steps. Super excited you're all going to be here this fall. Barbara, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hello, all. I'm Barbara Wilson, and I am also a Whitworth alum from the 20th century, so go back a ways. I'm originally from Colorado, and I live and work on the west side. So I actually live in Paulsville, so where Ashley's from, who's on the chat with us. And I work with all students over on the west side, Peninsula, down through Pierce County, Thurston County, Mason, Grace Harbor, and such. And then I also work with students from Colorado. So happy to have you all on today.
Hey everybody, sorry if it looks like I'm in witness protection. I've got these massive windows behind me in my office, but I'm Bria. I'm the admissions counselor that works with Spokane's District 81 and Meade school districts, as well as a couple other high schools in the area. I'm Whitworth alum as well, graduated in 2023 and been working in admissions for a couple years now. Super excited to walk you all through the next steps, and I know we're all getting excited, so it's good to be here.
All right, everyone, a few housekeeping things here before we dive into the presentation. So we're going to do a short presentation, then give you guys a lot of time to ask questions. So to do that, we have a Q&A function. If you're having technical difficulties or something, you can drop that in the chat. But if you have a specific question, please drop it in the Q&A. That just makes it easier for us to track it and then ask your question. So that should be on that Zoom bar at the bottom. If you don't see it, click on the more, the three dots icon. And if you click more, there's a function that pops up on that says Q&A. So if you have any questions, drop that in the Q&A. We'll circle back to those at the end. But yeah, Barbara, Bree, and I, we're all here for you as a resource during this time to answer any questions you have. And again, just so excited for you all. All the people on this call are going to be at Whitworth this fall. Super amazing. Excited for you all to join this Whitworth family. And I think you'll experience through these next 2, 3, 4 years you're on campus. I think you'll really see that this is a family. This education of mind and heart. It's just this relational place where you connect with people, grow in community. Yeah, and I can't wait for you guys to join us.
All right, so I get to start us off with what's next. And so I'm grateful that you all are joining this evening and in anticipation of what comes now that you've deposited and now that you've committed to becoming a Whitworth Pirate. So a couple deadlines for you. And just so you know, we'll be communicating all of this information to you over and over throughout emails, texts, and in your app portal. So on that enrollment checklist, you'll find a lot of this information as well. So the first coming up is the housing preference form. So some of you have already submitted this, so that's great. If you have not, we'd recommend that you submit it as soon as possible. That's as soon as you submit it, it sets your place in the queue to get your preference, your top three. And the great thing about completing the housing preference form for even those of you who've already done so is you can continue to go in and make changes and updates. So if you are chatting with folks and you find somebody that you would like to add as a potential roommate, you can log back into that form and make that update. Just be sure to go to the bottom and hit submit again to update that change. But you continue to do that up until May 18th. So for those of you who have, you can continue to make changes. For those of you who haven't yet completed it, it's in that enrollment checklist in your app portal, and we recommend you do that as soon as possible. All
And
right.
Barbara,
Yeah.
I'm gonna interrupt you here. Shameless plug. 1 week from today, on May 13, we've got the residence hall info session webinar. We're gonna have students from each residence hall. We'll go like do some like panoramic pictures of everything. So if you're still uncertain what the residence halls look like or want to get a better feel for what the environment's like in those, come to that webinar and we'll share more.
Perfect. Give a shameless plug for Baldwin Jenkins for those of us who were there as freshmen. Great residence hall. So, all right. Next is the academic interest survey. This is a really important form. So you'll be receiving it coming up in the next few weeks and is due June 2nd. And so we want to make sure this is what's going to help us formulate your first semester schedule. And so as much detail as you can give us as possible is going to help the faculty and the advisors who are meeting this summer to put together the best schedule for you for that first semester. And so they'll be asking for your major, if you have any minors of interest. If you still are totally unsure, you can put undeclared, and that's fine. We don't want to pressure you into picking a major. But any information you have of things that you're interested in, that you're looking to pursue, that you want to include as well. So again, the more information you can provide on that form, the better. Also, once you finish high school, and so those of you all in Washington go a little bit later than folks in the rest of the country. So once you finish in June, be sure and request a final official transcript. And what makes a transcript official is it has to be sent directly from your high school to Whitworth admissions. So we're not able to accept any kind of transcript from a student, but in order to be a final and official, it has to come directly from the school. And some schools will do that automatically. So it's always great to check with your high school counselor or the registrar's office just to find out if they'll do that for you, or if that's something that you need to go on and request through parchment or through their office. Same with your final college transcript. So those of you who have taken college in the high school in Washington and perhaps dual enrollment or running start courses, we are going to need a final official transcript from all those universities that you've taken those courses from. And so same thing, once you finish your final course and you know those grades are posted, be sure and request to have those sent again directly to Whitworth as well, because all that will be used to help formulate your schedule based on knowing what credits that you're bringing in, which is super important. Those of you who are taking AP exams, Cambridge exams, or IB exams, be sure and log in and add Whitworth again as well as a school that can receive those scores. And so once those scores come in, we'll be using our site to determine the credit that you'll receive, credit and course equivalency. And we do have a site, a page on our website for all those different tests. And so you can look and see based on the score you get, what kind of credit and course equivalency you're going to receive. And then August 1st is the deadline. So in that enrollment checklist, we'll be adding different health forms. And so it's really important that you give that information. And so the sooner the better. I always recommend for students, do it at the beginning of the summer, just get it done and don't have that hanging over your head all summer. So one of those will be, you'll be inputting information about your immunizations. And so if you don't have that on hand, it's a great thing to request really soon, is to have that immunization schedule. And so you can input that information. And if you've not had immunizations, then there's a place for you to put that information as well. And then really important is billing and payment arrangements. So all those arrangements need to be made by August 14th. And so either you're going to be paying in full that by the semester, so you'll send that information by August 14th. Either you'll make that payment for your first semester, or you can also set up a payment plan. And the great thing is the payment plan, you can make payments over 4 months. So that would be August, September, October, and November. All right. And then for those of you who are a little bit more visual, we have another slide where they're going to be in a timeline. So same information, but timeline fashion. And we are recording this, and so you'll be able to access this if you want to come back to it and look at this information. So again, May 18th, housing preference form is due. So you can make changes up to that date. June 2nd, academic interest survey is due. Early June, you're going to receive your housing and roommate assignment. And so that'll be exciting to find out where you're in and make connections with that roommate. July, work on your payment arrangements and those health forms. And so you'll be receiving your billing information at the end of July. And they'll be broken into the full year, but then payment by semester. You'll receive your class schedule late July. August, we'll be sending information about how to register for orientation and order your books. And there's a lot of different ways you can do that. And then September 5th is move-in day. So exciting, couple months.
All right, you guys, diving into the billing dates and what's next there. So our billing guide will come out in late June. If you remember back to when you guys got your financial aid offers, this is similar to that packet that came in the mail, but it's going to break down all of your options of if I want to pay in full or if I want to sign up for a 4-month payment plan, how do I do that? It really breaks everything down in an easy to understand process so you know how to move forward. So that's coming out in late June. If you are going to do that monthly payment plan, those payment arrangements are due August 14th. Or possibly earlier. So if you're a student athlete who's moving onto campus early, you've got to have those completed by the time that you move onto campus for your sport. Coaches generally are the ones who communicate the most information about that. So be aware of that. Make sure you get that done by the time you come to campus. And then similarly, since we do billing, in the fall and also the spring, since we're a semester school, if you want to do a payment plan again in the spring semester, those arrangements will need to be made by February 13th. And you get emailed about that ahead of time. The format will look a little bit differently once you guys are actually enrolled and students here, but you get good email communication about that. So after financial aid, when you're looking at your balance or how you're paying your gap, you're going to use one or more of the following options listed there. So you can pull in any direct payments. If you guys have a Parent Plus loan or a private education loan, anything like that, those will all combine to help go toward the balance. And then, like I mentioned earlier, the monthly payment plan spread over 4 months. To sign up for that, it's $50 each semester. So that would be up to $100 a year if you want to do that. So that's the nominal fee that's mentioned there. Looking forward to orientation weekend as well. This was some of my favorite memories from Whitworth. It's kind of like summer camp rolled into 4 days. There's a lot going on. It's a lot of fun. You're really tired, but you're meeting so many people and just starting to get plugged in. So we will send out a full schedule of this later this summer. The orientation team does a great job putting that together. But here are just a few things that you guys can look forward to of getting your student ID picked up. If you buy or rent textbooks through our campus bookstore, you can pick them up as well. There's all sorts of events that go on, a club fair, a ministry fair, our festival in the Loop that we call Loopapalooza. More tours. You get to meet your other residents on the floor you'll be living in your residence hall for those students that are living on campus. And I'll add a note here too for any of my local Spokane area students who might be living at home. You guys are still invited to all these orientation events as well and can participate in residence hall events during orientation. So there's a lot to still get plugged into. Please don't be deterred by thinking, oh, I'm not living on campus. There's not going to be as many opportunities for me. Not true. We'd love to still have you guys show up. Tradition is this wonderful mash of orientation and tradition where you learn about some of the traditions of Whitworth and particular residence halls. We really just start to bring you into all of the amazing history here at Whitworth. So lots of things to look forward to. Like I said, the full schedule will come out later this summer, so you know exactly what to expect. All of the activities are broken down by day and will be on our website. So more to come there.
All right, so now we've got you moved into campus. And so that should be actually September 5th. I apologize, it says August. So September 5th is move-in day for campus. We will have athletes moving in earlier. So if you are an athlete, your coaches will be communicating to you those earlier move-ins for our fall athletes. Everyone else on September 5th, move in. And so we don't set specific times. So there's for individuals or residence hall. So there is a bulk time that students come in. So starting, I believe, at 9 in the morning. And then throughout that day, students can move in on campus. And so you can be moving into residence hall at a time that works well for you. So if you're excited and want to jump right in, you can do that. If you want to sleep in and move in a little bit later, you can do that as well. So first day of classes are September 9th. So you have a couple days again, as Bree mentioned, about for orientation and all those great activities that are happening. And then right away, you're going to have a break in October. So that's a great thing about college. You get a lot of decent breaks to reestablish, especially between in the middle of those semesters with all those finals and mid-semester finals as well. So October 30th through November 2nd is our fall break. And then we have abbreviated Thanksgiving break, the 25th through the 27th, so not that whole week. If you're traveling farther away, that would be something, if you're looking to be gone that week, be sure and check with your professors because you don't want to be missing any courses and taking off the whole week and missing really important courses and classes and maybe even tests. And then final exam week, December 15th through 18th. And then, which is great to know, and they'll put out a schedule. You'll know your final exam schedule pretty early on. And what's great is then you can be looking ahead for those of you for traveling, especially if you're traveling via airline, to be booking those flights earlier than later. And Christmas break is December 19th all the way through January 5th. So then that brings us to spring. So hopefully most of you are familiar with Whitworth having a Jan term. And so Jan term is an optional 3-week course for students. And so as freshmen, most students are on campus. Some of you might be doing the honors program Jan term course if you've been invited to that off campus. Or you also have the option to stay home and take an extended break. And so the great thing about Jan term is it's the most affordable way to get anywhere from 3 to 5 credits out there. And so it's a great opportunity to take some great classes and earn some additional credits as well. So Jan term starts on January 6th. For those of you who are choosing to stay home, then Jan term break, you wouldn't come back until February 3rd when Jan term ends. And then again, another holiday, Whitworth loves to honor our Christian tradition. And so students and faculty and staff all have Good Friday off. So that's March 26th next year. And then that would continue into having that whole next week off for spring break. And then a year from now, more or less, we're looking at finals. So your first year of your final exams of your freshman year. And so May 18th through 21st. And then another small typo, we apologize. May 22nd is when residence halls will close. And so again, once you have that spring term final exam schedule, you want to be sure and make your plans to be heading back home for that summer and what that brings you.
Okay, so a few tips and tricks for this summer. The first thing that's going to be really important is if you guys aren't already in a good habit of checking your emails, you're going to learn to be good at it really quickly and soon. Your Whitworth student email right now can be accessed through your student portal. It's up at the top right, it says Whitworth email. That's how you can access it. Eventually, you'll be able to access it natively through Outlook on whatever devices. But for right now, while we're getting you guys all integrated into our systems, the only way to access that email is through the student portal. So make sure you locate that. If you need a screenshot or knowing how to find that, let us know. We can help with that. And refer to the summer checklist. So this should be going out here in just a couple days. This is a list of everything that you guys need to complete this summer in order to ensure a smooth start this fall when you guys show up for orientation and classes. And we'll start sending you weekly emails that say, what's next on your checklist? So it's pretty easy to go through. So for those of you that have been starting to ask me, like, how do I know what to do next? Or am I missing anything? I'm getting nervous. That summer checklist is going to be your best reference and have everything that you need. Once we get information, roommate assignments out, some contact information will be shared. You guys are welcome to reach out. Don't panic if someone doesn't respond right away. Sometimes it takes a little while as people are, on vacation, working, doing other things over the summer. But it's a good time to start getting to know this person who you're going to be living with. And you can start the fun process of, oh, I'm bringing a rug. Oh, okay, I'm bringing a mini fridge. You start figuring those things out of what you're going to have in your dorm room together. It's a really fun process. Your textbooks can be bought beginning in August. And how that works for us is you have your Whitworth student ID number. Once you get your class schedule, you can head to our bookstore website And there is a search tool on there on the front page where you can actually enter that student ID number, and it will pull a list for you of all of the classes that you're registered for and all of the textbooks that are required for each class. So it's pretty simple process. And then from there, you can go in to decide whether you might want to buy or rent that book through the Whitworth bookstore, or you at least have the textbook information and can use that to take a look in other spots, maybe like a thriftbooks.com website or something like that, um, or the Whitworth Textbook Exchange Facebook group that we have. I know when I was a student, I bought a couple things on that from other students who were offloading their textbooks, looking to make a little bit of money back. And so that can be another helpful source outside of the bookstore as well. So you can request to join that Facebook group if you're interested. And then lastly, this will happen later this summer in regard to our campus jobs and work study. So for those of you who are hoping to work on campus, you'll eventually need to create a handshake profile. So this will happen, like I said, later in August. This isn't something that you can do right now, but it's an item that we'll add unless you know, hey, now's the time to do it. So you can get integrated into our system. We'll send you a student employment guide that walks you through that entire process, as well as everything else you need to know before you start applying for jobs and actually working as a student worker on Whitworth's campus. But what you can be working on right now is updating your resume, making sure that's good to go, and maybe consider think of one or two people that you could ask for letters of recommendation in case those are needed. This would be someone like a teacher, maybe a coach, not parents or friends, but an adult in your life who can speak to your qualities.
And some of the cool things about on-campus jobs is Whitworth has a ton. We've got almost 1,000 on-campus jobs, and that money is paid directly to you, right? The hours you work are the hours you get paid for, so you can then choose to put that money towards uh, tuition, or you can choose to put it towards a trip to Utah with your friends or some late night tacos, right? But that's a great resource. Bria, thanks for sharing about that. All right. So staying connected here. I don't know if you guys have been on the Whitworth admissions Instagram, but it's pretty funny. One of our student workers did a great job of putting that together, some super cool videos. So check that out to stay in the loop and get a good laugh. We're also on TikTok and Zeme. Actually, a lot of our deposited students are on Zeme. If you haven't heard of Zeme, scan the QR code. It's an app that a lot of colleges use. It's a great way to find other students who are looking at Whitworth. So if you're looking for a roommate, it's a great way to match with someone. And then if you have a question, you can always ask a question there. Sometimes we'll do different events or hold raffles. So totally go and check out Zeme. Okay, now we're going to dive into the Q&A. That's the whole presentation. Thank you guys for hanging out for a little bit. Got quite a few questions in the queue already, so we'll dive into those. But obviously, me, Bria, and Barbara are here for you. This is Bria in better lighting, and it looks like I only own one shirt. So cool, but super excited for you guys to ask some questions, and we'll dive into those right now. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so you guys can see us a little better, but here we go. Okay, first question here. Barbara, do you know when the academic interest survey actually becomes available? I know it's due on June 2, but when does it open up?
Yeah, great question. So the academic interest survey will be coming out May 20th. So it should be coming out pretty soon. So yeah, great question about that. Thank you.
Yeah, and then we've got another question, like how does that academic interest survey work if a student's in Running Start or has taken a lot of credits already? How does that all work out?
Yeah, that's great. There will be some questions on that academic interest survey asking, have you taken Running Start courses? Have you taken other college courses? And so it'll give us an idea and we'll be asking where from. And so that way we know where to ask you to kind of keep track of where those transcripts should be coming from. And so again, knowing that those transcripts will come later, we just want to know what to be looking for. And so again, those schedules will be put together mid-July. And so that's once we've received all those transcripts, all those AP, Cambridge, IP scores, then the faculty and advisors will be taking all of that into consideration and putting together the best schedule for you. And one thing I did want to make clear is this is only for first semester. So once you're on campus in the fall, you will be meeting with your advisor, and then together you will design your second semester and Jan term schedules. And so we just found this has been incredibly successful for our students to design the fall semester schedules this way. And so we're excited about that. And so we'll have as much information from you just to give you the best schedule possible.
Yeah, thanks, Barbara. That's super
Yeah,
helpful.
and just to
Go ahead.
clarify, we do need, we have to have all that information. So again, if you're having a hard time getting it or you're finishing some classes and aren't able to get that to us by the end of the summer, just keep in mind in order to receive college credit or AP credit or Cambridge or IB, we do have to have all that information before the end of your first semester at Whitworth. And so again, if you any information that comes in after the end of December will not be applied towards your credit. So be sure and get that in as soon as possible. But there is some room to submit that into the semester.
Yeah. Uh, Thanks, Barbara. It has been super nice for students. Takes all the stress off you if you can just fill out that form and then they build that first semester schedule for you, making sure that you'll graduate in 4 years. Super, super, super helpful. All right, Bria, I've got a few questions here about what it looks like if you're a homeschool student submitting your transcripts then.
Yes, absolutely. I think I forgot to mention that in my intro, but I do work with homeschool students right now. So we'll send an email about this with step-by-step instructions a little bit later, most likely in June. But what I can tell you about how those final official transcripts work for my homeschool students is it's got to have 5 things here. I'll give them to you. Student's first and last name, the list of all the high school level coursework taken with grades for each class, a cumulative GPA. We need to have a graduation date with a line stating that the student fulfills all of your state's requirements for high school graduation. And lastly, the signature of the parent or school representative. So like if you're in a co-op or something, we just need the signature of whoever is, quote unquote, in charge of that. So like I said, you'll get a full email with all of that again later in June, but I hope that gives you a good taste of what to look for right now.
Thanks, Bria. Looking at the questions here. Barbara, is there anything that we need to specifically do to accept a financial aid package from Whitworth?
Yeah, great question. And so in essence, we're assuming that you're going to accept everything that's been offered. Um, there will be also in your self-service. So maybe one thing to explain right now, you're walking two lines right now. You're straddling two things. You're an applicant, you're an admitted student to Whitworth, deposited student, and so you have your app portal with all that information and the enrollment checklist and all the details there. But you also have self-service. And so self-service is where you're looking at all of your financial information. And so you've received information. Same login credentials for both, but self-service is something you'll be using as a student once you're on campus as well. And so keep that in mind. And so be sure and be logging into your self-service for all of your financial. And so if you are accepting federal loans, then you will need to go in and do the promissory note and then do the I apologize, I don't remember exact terminology, but you're also going to be doing the information to making sure that you understand completely what you're signing up for with that federal student loan, all the requirements, all the benefits of that. And so there's two pieces to accepting those federal student loans. If you're choosing not to accept your federal student loans, this will be in the billing guide, but you will need to send the student, you as the student need to send an email to our financial aid office, letting them know that you're declining your federal student loans. And again, billing statements can have a lot of great information about that. If you are receiving outside scholarships, be sure there is a form to submit. Our business office prefers that you submit it all at once. And so if you're waiting for more to come in, it's best to wait until you have all that information about outside scholarships and then submit that form to our business office as well. And there'll be information about that, our student account schedule.
Barbara, and the deadline for that is just August 14, right? Once the payments are
Correct.
due.
Yes, correct. Yeah. If you end up having a scholarship that comes in after that, then they can make adjustments to either what you owe or if you have credit that could go towards Jan term or spring semester. Yep.
Looks like we have a question here about students needing to register for classes. No, if when the professors go in and they build out your whole class schedule for you that first semester, they're already registering you for the classes there. So you don't need to go again and try to mess with anything to register. We're registering for you to make this summer as easy and stress-free as we can for you. I hope that answers your question. All right. Bria, I think I had a question for, or either of you, Barbara or Bria. Do you know if there's a credit card fee for making payments?
I believe there is about a 3% fee, credit card fee. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
I think there is, but I think you have the option. Gosh, I'm trying to think because they switched who does our payment plans since I've graduated Whitworth. But I believe you have the option to either do those monthly payments with a credit card or you could link a bank account as well to do withdrawal. And I believe the fees to do the bank account withdrawal were less than the credit card. So that is one option.
Thanks, Bria. We've got a question here about meeting your academic advisor. So actually during orientation right away, you have time to meet your academic advisor. We have a specific time set aside during orientation for you to connect with them. So right away, you'll be meeting with those people, and those people are going to be really influential, maybe lifelong mentors, people you're going to go get a free cup of coffee with, right? And they'll be with you building out your schedule the rest of your time here at Whitworth. Does someone want to talk a little bit about meal plans at Whitworth and what that looks like? And then are you able to change at semester?
Yeah, for sure. There's several different meal plan options. Those are included on your housing preference form, actually. So for those of you that have filled out that form, you've already selected that. And for those of you who haven't yet, you can go in and do that. And there's a breakdown of the costs and what's included in those meal plans as well. If you need extra details, there's a webpage on our website. You could literally just go to whitworth.edu and then type in the Whitworth search bar meal plans. It'll pull everything up for you. So you can choose which is going to be the best fit. But yes, you can change a meal plan at semester. You have to fill out a form that's online, but you'll also see that linked on the webpage I was just mentioning if you search up meal plans. I know that the team usually recommends that students coming into Whitworth or new students to Whitworth choose the Pirate Gold or Platinum plan for at least the first semester because you get the most amount of meals per week and you get a sizable amount of flex dollars that you can use in, the Qdoba or the other cafes on campus. So hopefully that helps.
Barbara, where do students submit scholarships if they've applied and received some scholarships maybe from their school, maybe from their church? Where do they submit those?
Yeah, so we have a scholarship form. So again, if you type into Whitworth, and in fact, we can even be looking it up while we're talking to you all. But under forms for Whitworth, there is a outside scholarship form. Um, I'm looking to see if I can grab it right away. I don't know if you see where it is, Jacob. But if you type in outside scholarships, it'll lead you to a page that has all of our different forms. And there's the outside scholarship form that you would submit. And it's just going to ask information. Typically, scholarships like to pay those monies directly to the university. And so they'll be getting information. Sometimes you'll receive the money for that. And so then the best thing to do is to bring that check when you come to campus in the fall, and then have that credited to your account. And so if you set up a payment plan, then they'll take that money and apply it and then adjust your payment plan based on any outside scholarships that you receive. And reach out to us. Sometimes scholarships want to see that you are registered. And so some just want to see that you've been admitted. And so you have that information. We can always send you another admittance letter if that's something that you don't have access to still. And if they need to see that you are actually an enrolled student, that's something we'll be able to provide at the end of July. And so we can provide you with that paperwork. So just reach out to your counselor. So whoever you're receiving emails or texts from, you can reach out and ask them if you need help getting an enrolled student letter.
Great advice, Barbara. If you guys ever have questions, feel free to respond to any Whitworth email or any Whitworth text you've gotten. I'm sure you've gotten plenty. Respond to one of those, and we can get back to you and send you that link for scholarships or send you another form, like Barbara said.
Yeah, and just to jump in for a second, we all work full time over the summer too. So I know sometimes you think, oh, it's a school, maybe we won't be here. We are. We're still here 8 to 4:30 Monday through Friday. So we are here to help all summer long.
Okay, another question here. Um, if someone applied to Whitworth as one major, but now they're unsure and they're rethinking that, how does that affect their academic interest form?
Yeah, that's actually one of the first questions we'll ask you on that academic interest form is what do you want your major to be? So once you put it on the form, that's what you're going to start with, at least for your very first semester. You could always change your major later after that, but whatever you end up putting on the academic interest form is, yes, this is the major I want to go into. That's what we'll run with for the first semester.
And don't stress, lots of students change their majors plenty of times. I changed my major twice in college. I think that's pretty normal. So don't stress if you don't have your major completely set in stone yet. Yeah, you've got time. Okay, question about AP credits, Barbara or Bria, if you know. How are AP class credits chosen for credit if you're coming in with a lot of AP credits? And this person asked about a limit, if there's a limit. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, sorry, got a tickle there. Yes, so I'm going to also put in the chat the link to our page where you can find the AP credits. And so it's based on the test, whether you receive, typically it's a 4 or 5. And so that might determine whether you're receiving just credit in general in that area or actually course equivalency. And so there is a limit. I believe it's 32 credits that a student can receive through AP, IB, and Cambridge courses total.
Thanks. That's super helpful. Okay, since students aren't registering for classes, when the heck do they find out what actual classes they have? I think we talked about this date earlier. Um, does anyone remember what it was off the top of their head?
I think, let's see.
Your class schedule comes out in late July, it says.
Yeah.
So, yeah, hopefully that answers your guys' questions. Don't have a specific date for you, but late July, that'll come out. Okay, another payment question. Can you pay by check, and is there a fee for that?
You can pay by check, and there's not a fee to pay. And so students can always go in and make payments at any time in the student's account office, in the business office. And I saw there was a question about work study and how that goes towards tuition if your tuition is covered. And so as Jacob mentioned, when you do work study or just student employment, the difference between those is who's paying your wages. And so, but both of those are like a traditional job. You're paid every 2 weeks. It's either paid directly to you via check or can be deposited into an account, checking or savings account, so direct deposit. Um, and then, so the great thing is you choose, and if that money needs to go to help with your tuition, then you would go in and make a payment towards your tuition with that money, towards your payment plan, or again having your payment come out of that same account. Um, or if your tuition is fully paid for, or then you can use that money for whatever expenses you need. So whether it's work study or student employment, that money can be used towards laundry, towards purchasing books, towards travel expenses, any expenses that you have. So just like a regular job, you're paid that money directly. What you use that money for, in your best interest is however you choose to do so.
I think I'll add to that too. If you are going to be paying by check on a monthly basis, it can be a little tricky because you're not getting those reminders. So you really have to stay on top of it so that our student accounts team isn't, trying to chase you down of like, where's this monthly payment? So if you are going to pay by check, that's something you need to set up with the student accounts team once we start that billing process here in June that we talked about, so that you guys can set up what that's going to look like.
We've got a question here about IDs. The ID number you have been sent already will be your ID all 4 years at Whitworth. You'll actually get that stamped on a little card that you can use to unlock buildings and stuff, but that is your ID. Feel free to memorize it. Don't feel obligated to, but That's your ID. Another question, Bria, this is a good question for you. Is there a group for off-campus students who like live at home maybe or live with family that takes the place of residence hall social life?
Yeah, there are a couple different things, or a couple different ways we go about this. So, one of them being there's a dedicated commuting student lounge upstairs in the hub. So, I know that there's off-campus students that like to go there to study in that environment. And there also is a representative in ASWU, our student government, for off-campus students. So, they will often host events specifically for off-campus students at different times where you guys can come to campus and all get together. They also offer office hours. So if you want to go in and get to know them, talk a little bit more, find out what's going on in student government and how that representative is representing you guys, there are opportunities to do that. But I would still say one of the best things that you can do as an off-campus student to get plugged in on campus is either get an on-campus job, so you're meeting lots of people, getting involved in different things, or join a club. I mentioned, way back at the beginning that we'll have a club fair during orientation, and what that means is actually outside in the loop, all of our student clubs set up a table with information about their club and you can sign up. So it's a super easy way to start meeting people. You can join things just by writing down your email. So that's my biggest advice for off-campus students is find a way to get involved, whether that's working or joining a club. The other thing I would say too is you can join any of the prime times happening in residence halls, whether you live on campus or not. So if you hear about an event that's going on that you think sounds super fun, like there's a Just Dance night and you want to come compete with friends, or oh, they're going to do Twister outside with shaving cream. That sounds super fun. You can come to those events as well. So I think although there are opportunities for off-campus students, I think it requires a little bit of intentionality on your side as well to make sure you're showing up for things and involving yourself in things as well, because it's not as natural, kind of like you said, when you're living on campus to get pulled into things in quite the same way.
But that's great advice, Bria, for off-campus students, but also for on-campus students, right? Like, uh, get involved
Yeah.
in things, join a club if you're just curious, connect with people, get a job. All those things are great ways. Sit with a group in the cafeteria, right? Go to your prime times. These are great ways to get involved in campus life and really have the best Whitworth experience possible.
Yeah, I would caution too, as a freshman, if you're coming in and you're very enthusiastic about, I want to join all the things and do all the things, careful that you don't overcommit yourselves. It's a lot harder to take things out of your schedule than it is to add it in, right? So I feel like I see often students are like, oh, I'm so excited, I'm going to join 10 things. You're like, oh man, we're 2 months into the school year and this is just not sustainable. So start out slow, keep your commitment level a little bit low. And then once you get a feel for things, start adding things more in as you go.
Barbara, question for you. Can I bring my car to campus?
Yes, you can. And again, in August, we'll be sending out information about how to register your vehicle for campus parking. Um, Typically, the cost has been $150 for a year for a parking permit. Um, so we haven't heard an updated cost for next year, but if it does go up, it'll just be incrementally. And so it's probably one of the most affordable campuses to park a vehicle on that I've ever heard of. That being said, um, we're a really walkable campus and there's a lot of great places nearby that are walkable. And so all students also have a free bus pass. And there are going to be people in your residence hall, in your classes that have a car. And so we typically recommend that freshmen don't bring a vehicle just for parking on campus. But that being said, you can bring it and you'll just need to register. You will need to register it and get that parking permit and more details coming out in August.
Yeah, you're totally welcome to bring your car, but you really don't need it. I had no car for all 4 years of college. Just biked around a little bit and mooched off people, and it totally worked, right? College is almost like its own little community. You're just in, all your food is there, all your classes are there, your job is there, so you never need to leave if you don't want to. But yeah, totally don't need the car if you don't want it. I got a question about sports clubs besides just intramurals. So we've got an awesome intramural scene, beach volleyball, sand volleyball, basketball, spike ball, pickleball, lots of really sweet intramural sports. But if you want to be a part of a club that's not intramural related, we have men's and women's soccer, and it's like legit. They like practice and they play games against other schools, club teams, and then we also have an ultimate frisbee team as well. All right, question here specifically about music. How should a music student know what things to prepare for before school starts? And then maybe related to that, not exactly the same, but related to that, students coming into college next year, what school supplies they need, what things should they be thinking about preparing for? We'll have another webinar way later in the summer talking like actually about move-in and what's going to happen then. So be looking for that on your radar. But we'll share more about that. But Brie or Barbara, do you want to at least introduce that a little bit?
Yeah, so I'm guessing I'm wondering specifically like bringing instrument storage, um, preparation for auditions if you are going to be auditioning for one of our ensembles. Um, so it
Yeah.
would be helpful maybe to know a little bit more specific. Or Bria, do you think you have an idea for
Yeah, yeah, because in the fall, you're always going to audition for placement. So I
Mm.
don't think there's necessarily materials you have to prepare ahead of time, although the music department is really great about sharing that. So as we get closer, if there is something specific, I know we'll share that with you. But the auditions in the fall are really just designed of what ensemble do we need to place you in based on your abilities. So it's pretty straightforward in that regard. And then there are a bunch of lockers in the music building. So you will be assigned one. If you have an instrument that can, fit in a locker, you'll be assigned one by the music department. And so you'll get your locker number and a little code. And that way you're not having to worry about storing instruments in dorm rooms or elsewhere. They can just stay in the music building.
Yeah, and if you do have really specific music questions, we can direct you to Scott Davis. He's got all the answers. He works with music students. But Bri and Barbara, do you guys have any thoughts on like what supplies to bring for college? Thinking about that.
I think every student's a little bit different. I am more the type that when I was in high school and then also at Whitworth, I like to have, like a separate notebook or separate binder for each class. I like that delineation. Some people, would maybe just get one giant notebook and divide notes between classes in the same notebook. I feel like everyone kind of has their own flow with that. But I'd say some of the most important things is a laptop. We use Canvas, and so you'll get used to, turning in a lot of your assignments actually online through Canvas. Some might be by hand, but a good chunk of them will be online too. So having a good laptop that you can use is super helpful. And then, yeah, just I would say probably similar to what you've done in high school. Like if you have a system that works for you and you really like binders or you really like notebooks or highlighters, I don't know, bring those types of things with you. Um, Something I think you should invest in as well if you haven't already is a planner. Having some sort of organizer or planner is so, so helpful. And the amount of students that are successful versus the ones that aren't like a good indication of that is do you have a planner or not? And are you writing down, what to expect? And then whether you use that planner to kind of map out when assignments are due, like, you're sitting in the first day of class, you get a syllabus from your professor, and it's going to outline these are important due dates for projects and different things throughout our class. Um, Maybe putting that into your planner. Or I had a Google Calendar that I would use specifically for my big assignments because I knew like with my little planner, I could handle kind of the daily homework assignments or like the couple times a week homework assignments. But I wanted to be able to see on my Google Calendar, okay, where it is the overlap where I've got, okay, I know I've got two essays due for these classes in the same week. Maybe I need to work ahead, the week before so that I'm prepared and not stressing myself out. So I put all of those really big assignments on a special calendar so I could see where are my heavier weeks, where are my lighter weeks, and just make sure I'm planning out my time well.
Yeah, one thing I just wanted to add about computers is a lot of times students will ask us PC or Mac, specifically the students in a STEM program. And really the professors tell us they can work with either because computer science, you're going to have access to computers and all the different programs that you might need there. So whether they're helping you get the programs that you need to add on or having access to computers where you can be using those programs for that specific major, So again, really, we've heard from them either. So whatever you're familiar with, whatever you have, certainly don't feel the need to purchase anything specific coming into Whitworth.
I will add a note though, generally, Chromebook can cause some different issues, especially if you are in like a computer science or engineering. So I would maybe steer away from those, but everything else Barbara said, I would agree with.
All right, thank you all for the great questions. We're starting to run a little low on time, so I'm going to end with this question. All right, Barbara, Bria, what is one thing you just especially love about Whitworth? Bria, you want to start us off?
Sure, I'll give it a go. Um, Gosh, that's tough. I feel like there's so many things I could say from being a student and now working here too. Um, I think just the amount of capable and caring people, or maybe intentional is like a better adjective to kind of combine the two of those, is just the way that Whitworth as a university as a whole, but also the individuals behind it and the professors and the mentors in the career center. It's like all of the adults are very um, intentional with what they do and how they help students figure out what's next and where they're going as you're trying to figure out how to adult and what you want out of life and what's next. Like all of those questions really start hitting you in college. And just as someone who was here during COVID and some other significant challenges in my life, having people that were intentional about um, checking on me and guiding me and mentoring me was something that I really needed and still benefit from now.
Yeah, that's hard just limit it to one. But I would say for me, just the excellence of Whitworth, the excellence of our professors, the beauty and how well maintained our grounds are. We're a tree campus for higher ed, like beautiful grounds that are well taken care of. Um, the support that you're going to receive from every office and every group that you're a part of on campus. And so just the excellence, our computer science is doing some really cool things and working in STEM towards AI. And so I just love that we're constantly reflecting, engaging, and just trying to have students best prepared that when you leave Whitworth, you are going to be prepared for whatever career and vocation that you embark in, but you're also going to have a great foundation and network of people there to support you and encourage you and keep you going and to come back to year after year after year. So
Absolutely. I've been really impressed from like my first day here. The chaplain knew my name. The president made like an effort to get to know me. It's just such a relational place, a caring place. People want to get to know you, and I think that that Christian community really is special and unique. And I'm excited for you all to experience it soon. Like Barbara said, campus is beautiful, super super pretty, awesome pine trees. I got the flower baskets out, so yeah, it's awesome. But yeah, again, like I said, really excited for you all to be on campus this fall. It's only a few months away. You're all going to be finishing high school soon. If you have any more questions or any questions that you didn't feel like got answered, shoot us an email, shoot us a text, give us a call. We're here for you. We're rooting for you. Um, yeah, and this webinar is going to be recorded, so if you have anything you need to go back on, we'll have that sent out to you shortly. So. Thanks again for joining tonight, and we'll see you all in the fall. Bye.